The media landscape is changing. All your TV companies, your big publishing companies, your streaming services, your big internet sites, they're all surrendering, submitting, bending over to a fringe group of religious extremists. And that sucks. But maybe it's not all bad. So if you're as old as I am, and I'm not that old, but if you're as old as I am, when you were a kid, you know that TV was out of step with American mainstream, right? You'll remember this, the 80s, the early 90s, certainly even the late 90s. TV standards and practices, they're all controlled by this group of weirdo prudes, right? And we always, oh, what about the Christians? You can't upset the Christians. Oh, what about the family council? Oh, your video games is so violent, right? You got, this stupid grandstanding politician over here saying moronic crap. You can't say that on television. You can't talk like a human being on television. And then suddenly we're allowed to cuss on TV. It was such a big, oh my God, right? South Park covered that pretty funnily at the time. And that was the thing. You knew that. You knew that whether you were a little kid or a grown adult, you knew that what you saw represented on television didn't apply. It was a minority held fantasy by weirdos. And that's early on. That's what Fox did a lot of making fun of. That's kind of how they made their bones. Married with Children was a take on the family sitcom, but everybody in it's, kind of a miserable person. The Simpsons also was a satire. It wasn't about them all being miserable. It was about just satirizing this ridiculous 1950s Americana fantasy that was still going on in the late 1980s. 30, 40 years after this stuff was dominant in pop culture, you had these people who still just demanded we just live in this fantasy world. That's what that was all making fun of. Indeed, that's kind of why The Simpsons quit working in the late 90s, because that died off. It satirized a stupid thing that had gone on too long until it died. And now we have basically the same thing. We got The Simpsons going, we shouldn't have had, the voice actor who's white talking, this book is problematic. These movies, I don't know about that director. That tweet from 10 years ago. There's a reason everybody's getting in trouble for tweets from 10 years ago. Because there was a brief shining moment, right, where things changed. And we didn't have a small group of extremist religious weirdos telling our culture what it couldn't present in popular media. And it was just, it was a Camelot-like brief shining moment of, from like 2006 to 2012. It was kind of, you had a little bit, there was a last gasp with the Bush administration, Janet Jackson and all that. A little period of time where you could just say what you wanted. You have a bunch of fuckheads telling you can't, and some little going, I'm so offended. I'm so offended about nothing. It didn't hurt me and I'm dying from it. You didn't have that. You didn't have these pieces of shit, these sad excuses for humanity, doing letter campaigns. Now, Twitter hashtag campaigns, right? It's the same thing. They just talk about who are these people who write letters to the network? Lunatics. Who are these people that go on hashtag campaigns? Lunatics. But you know what? Maybe that's not so bad. I'm not saying it's good, but maybe it's not so bad, because there was that brief shining moment where we didn't have lunatics ruining our television and our video games and our movies. And you know what? I'm not saying you couldn't make great art in that time, or it'll happen again. These lunatics will leave before the next batch comes in. It'll happen again. I'm not saying you can't make great art in those little brief periods of sanity, but where do you get all that vitriol as an artist? Where do you get all that passion as an artist? When you see morons saying moronic things, it just ignites a fire in your heart that you go, no, it ignites your passion. You go, I gotta undo what this moron's saying. I gotta make a counterpoint to what these idiots are telling us. I've gotta write great art that cuts through lunacy and muddying of the waters and just consensus. Just every dummy's just nodding his head yes, so I guess yes is no. No, it's not. It doesn't matter how many dummies nod their head yes to a false proposition, it's still false. But it gives you that burning energy. When you see these lunatic SJWs, these Puritans, these people who need religion, but then religion died 15 years ago. And so these kids, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. So they're out there trying to think, institutional racism, that's the problem. Like, we're as least racist as this country's ever been, and we compete with Canada for least racist country in the world every year. And institutional racism is causing all our problems? They have no idea. They need God. They need a God. They desperately need it. And all these Bronze Age fantasies, these fables, are no longer cutting it. And so we're in this weird period, like, what do they find? They won't save us in the future when they figure out new forms of religion. There'll still be, the problem is they're extremist morons. But even right now, they need God, and so they're inflicting the harm upon us. But that gives you a passion as an artist. That makes you angry as an artist. That clarifies your senses, right? When you just see nothing but, happy trees and sunshine all day, it doesn't sharpen your intellect. But when idiots are trying to prove nonsense, your mind gets very clear because it gives you the haze fades away. And so, while it's annoying, yes, it sharpens all our minds because now we have something to fight against. It's not we need an enemy to corral us like in 1984. Rather, we need wrong in the world so that we can figure out what's right. Figure out